I've spent so much time, and I've seen people and talked to people who have spent so much time doing so many random things, but not the key things that actually matter to them. And until you learn how to do those right things, it doesn't matter how many to-dos you knock off. It doesn't matter how many good interactions you have with the people that you care about. Those things really matter. But there are these things that are on our heart as Christian women that we really want to do. And if we are not doing them, if they're in our control to do them, but we're not doing them, we are going to be frustrated. When life feels undone and you get to the end of your week and you look back and are painfully aware of all the things you wanted to do, totally planned on doing, but none of them happened, it's really easy to think that you need more time, more energy, or you should have put more effort out. But I'm here to try to convince you that you don't need to do more things. You need to start doing the right things. And I hope already that is feeling like a breath of fresh air, because there are a few key moments throughout your week, and there's a few key tasks that when you do them, it creates a whole bunch of relief that tons and tons and tons of effort doing a whole bunch of random things will never bring. So I'm going to show you how to find those key few things that actually make the difference in your life so that you can stop putting all this weight into a whole bunch of other things. So before I show you my 3-part system for how I plan my week and how you, as a Christian woman who has things on your heart that matter to you, the things that you want to do for God, the things that, whether it's reading your Bible or connecting well with the people in your life, or actually finally following through on what He's called you to do, which if you do have something, you know what it is that you want to do, and you are frustrated that it's not happening, then grab the On Purpose Planner as well as watch the rest of this video. All right, so I have a little story to share with you. But before I share that story, I've got to backtrack quick. I said to grab the On Purpose Planner. I didn't say where, so you can grab it in the description below. Totally free, and it helps you just to organize life in a way that actually gets the most meaningful things done. So, all right, so story time. I, in my home, have, I think to some extent, we all do things on just habitually, right? And so one of the habits in my home is that when my home feels messy, my attention goes to the things that are kind of like the most obvious things, right? So if toys are out, if there's dishes around, if there's clothes around, and so without even thinking, I just start putting my effort into feeling like, if I can just like keep the toys contained, or if I can just remove the dishes from around the house, or pick up the clothes off of the floor and put them in the laundry basket. Like that's where I naturally put my effort when my home is feeling chaotic. And funny thing, it never makes the home feel any more peaceful. Maybe a little bit, but I don't actually have that feeling of, okay, now I could sit down and rest, or now I can focus on the things that are most important. And so what I've learned through that experience of like, I'm putting out effort and I'm not feeling peace. I'm not getting the result I want. And so, yeah, there's the house is looking cleaner, but nothing, I don't feel any better. It's like, there's no feeling like, okay, the house is like at 0. Now I can move on. And so what I've realized was that I was putting effort into the wrong things. So what I had to learn was how to put effort into the right things. And in my home, the right things is basically wash a load of dishes. If there's dishes around the house, if I just go and fill the sink with soapy water, it is crazy successful, because then I fill it with soapy water, I start washing, and then I'm naturally just pulling the dishes from around the house, and it gets the dishes done at the same time. And then I'm just naturally pulling everything else together in the kitchen. And then with laundry, then it is just start a load, or basically do whatever step needs to be done next in the laundry cycle. And again, that naturally pulls the things that are the pieces of clothing that are lying around the house into the laundry room. And I'm not saying there's like piles of stuff around the house or piles of dishes. It's just like it can be 3 random things around the house and it feels like everything is just chaotic. It's crazy how a few pieces lying around. It can feel so messy. So it's the dishes, it's the laundry, and then it is surfaces. I could clean the entire house, but if surfaces aren't tidy, whether it's the tables and the counters being wiped off and floors being vacuumed or swept, then it never feels tidy. And so it's weird because you almost would think we'll start with that last, but when I focus on the surfaces, just getting things cleaned up, then all of a sudden I'm putting papers away and I'm picking up the toys or putting that back in its spot. And so it's this weird kind of backwards way of doing things, but I really only have to think about, well, just wipe the surfaces, just fill the sink with soapy water and just do the next step in the laundry cycle. I'm not trying to do the whole job right now. It's just what's that thing that gets me doing the right action and that gives me the results in my home that I actually want. So, story time done. Now we're going to apply that to how do you plan your week in 10 minutes? How do you not just keep on spending every day trying to knock a bunch of random things off of your to-do list, but instead find those things that actually make the difference? And it's almost like, if you have a wind chime lying on the ground and you're trying to organize it and untangle it, and it just has this way of like, if you pick up any of the wrong parts besides the main string, you're going to pick it up and it looks messy. But once you find that right string, you pick up that wind chime and everything hangs properly. Those are the things that we're looking for to like, how do we pick up or how do we find those key things that you need to be doing in order for your whole week, not just your whole week, but each day to come together, your year to come together, and then ultimately your life to come together so that you are doing the things that make you feel like, it's like stuff happens in life. I know, but we're not talking about the things we can't control, the stuff that just happens to us that we have no control over. But we're talking about the things that we do have control over. And there are so many things where I have a choice on which item I'm going to knock off my to-do list. And I have a choice on which commitments I'm going to put into my schedule. So if I have that choice and one item makes me is that thing that is like that key task that actually makes a difference versus another thing that just makes me feel like I'm behind, of course, I want to learn how to choose that right thing. So what you want to do is you're going to look at the end of your week and say, what are the things that you want to accomplish with this week? What do you want this week to actually do for you? And when you can identify those things, and it might be, one of my things is I want our home to function for us, for all of us. And so then I'm like that's something that is just, it's an ongoing thing and it may never come off of our to-do list, right? Unless the home just kind of like really just sort of, my habits are all wonderful and perfect and it takes care of itself. I'm not there yet, but if it happens one day, I'll let you know. So at the end of the week, I want to be, or by the end of the week, I want to have read my Bible every day. I want to have talked to our kids about God and help them, let's memorize a verse. Maybe probably just like one verse every single day. We're going to go over it. For me, in my world, I want to create 2 videos, and you might have a book that you're writing, and so you want to actually have like a really good, or maybe you have a book that you aren't writing but you want to write. And you know what? Quick plug again. Grab that On Purpose planner in the description below, because whether you want to write a book or you want to start a ministry or you want to be intentional with homeschooling and teaching your kids the Bible, if it's something you want to do, you haven't been doing, then that On Purpose planner is here to help you actually start doing those things, because they are good, important things that need to happen. And it's not that you don't have time. Again, it's not about doing more things. It's just learning to use the time that you have to do the right things. Where was I? Right, I was talking about the book. So if you want to write a book, so then you might say, okay, I feel like I have to, if I sit down, I have to like write everything perfectly. And so by the end of this week, I just want to have a rough outline of the book. So then what you're going to do when you have that, you're going to reverse engineer it. It's asking the question, in order for me to get there, what do I need to do today, tomorrow, the next day, in order to make that happen? So it's not, what do I feel like doing? Or do I feel like sitting down and writing? And I'm going to just sit on this example of writing a book. Knowing that most of us aren't going to do that. But if you, whatever it is that if I want to get there, what does that mean for me each day? What choice or action do I need to take regardless of my emotions and regardless if I feel like it? Because I promise you, if you, there's like a story I want to tell, but it's too long. But if you will say, this is where I want to be, and these are the 3 steps I need to take this week, even if it's just one thing. Even if you said, I want to write a book and I'm going to sit down for 30 minutes and just brain dump everything. Even if you don't write it down, make a voice recording and just talk for 10 minutes. And then you can turn that voice recording into notes later on. But just doing that, if it is something that has been on your heart to do for a really long time, brain dumping your ideas into a voice memo is going to be one of the biggest things that is probably going to feel really uncomfortable in the moment, but you are going to be so happy afterwards and your whole week is going to feel like it's success. I am beyond convinced of that because I've spent so much time and I've seen people and talked to people who have spent so much time doing so many random things, but not the key things that actually matter to them. And until you learn how to do those right things, it doesn't matter how many to-dos you knock off. It doesn't matter how many good interactions you have with the people that you care about. Those things really matter. But there are these things that are on our heart as Christian women that we really want to do. And if we are not doing them, if they're in our control to do them, but we're not doing them, we are going to be frustrated. And so when you go through this process, it's just taking you through, what do I want to accomplish? And what are the key steps I need to take in order to get there? Those are the things that are going to make the difference in your schedule and in your life. And it's that thing that when you pick up that string on the, what's that called? Wind chime. When you pick up that string and everything just comes together and it's like all of a sudden you're like, you start to prioritize life in a way that it just sets you up. I want to talk about that more, but I'm not going to. All right, so that's part number 1 of how to plan your week. Part number 2 is to look at your schedule. So this is really important and something that I think sometimes we miss. So what you want to do here is that you're going to look at your schedule and see in the back of my head, I'm like, again, there's a story I want to tell, and then you know what? I'm going to just quickly tell it. So years ago, my mom was going to be going on a trip to Israel, and before she left, there were a bunch of things that she wanted to get in order. The things that she needed to get for her trip, and then just different things that she wanted to do. So we were on the phone and mapping it out. And so she had, I think, let's say she had a week, right? So she's got a week before she's flying. She has all these different things that she wants to do. And those things alone, if she was home every day, those things would have filled up her time. And then so what we did was when we looked at her schedule, we could see, okay, she's got 7 days. The last day she's flying, so everything has to be ready to go by then. And on day 3, she was spending the whole day with her mom. On day 4, she was in the city all day, something like that. Mom, I know you're going to see this and you'll probably remember, and you've got all the details on how it actually mapped out. But it was more or less that's what happened. And so when we mapped it out on paper, all of a sudden it was like, okay, there's just not time for everything. So then that process helps you pick and choose what is the most important. Do you need to cancel something? Do you need to do something more efficiently? Do you need to how are you going to map out those things that you need to do and knock off everything that isn't actually important? And so when you're looking at your schedule, you can see that, even for me, when I'm making a video, when I look at my schedule, if we're going to be away for half the day, technically, yes, I have the morning, but videos take a certain kind of headspace. And so I have to be very careful to not just say, oh, I'll just make a video in the morning. I also have 2 kids. And so sometimes, I can make a plan like that, but that doesn't always fit very well. So then I'm piecing together the different things I do to make videos into my week so that everything is working together. And on the front end, like stuff still happens, but we're just looking for what is it that we want our week to do for us? What do we need to do in order to make that happen? So how are we managing our time to the best of our ability? And then we're looking within our schedule and saying, how do I want to map this out? We're not putting these things on a to-do list, waiting or hoping for energy to knock them off. You put them in the allotted time in your schedule, and you can absolutely move these things around, but we want it to have a space in your schedule, because if it doesn't have that kind of space, it is so unfair to yourself to expect yourself to all of a sudden have the energy to do the right things when you've spent so much time. If you're like me, you've spent so much time getting lost in the wrong things. Okay, so that was part 2. Part 3 is to look at the data. Again, a huge piece I don't even think most of us think about, but it is so important, and it shows you a lot about yourself. So what you're going to do is at the end of your week, look back on your week and ask, did I do what I said I was going to do? And when you ask that question, okay, so quick story again, I used to notice, I would wake up in the morning, make a list of, okay, these are the key things. Like I would do this over the week, but then at times I would also do it throughout the day, where it's like, these are the things that need to happen in my home or that I need to get done in order for today to do its job. And then I would get to the end of the day, go to check the list off, and I got pretty much none of the things done. It was the weirdest experience for me to realize, like, I make this list and I don't do any of the things. And when I look at this list, I can totally see, had I done those things, they would have made a huge difference. So why was I busy all day knocking off a whole bunch of random things that looked important in the moment, but they weren't the things that made the difference? And so it was that is a process of looking at the data. You're looking at, this is what I said I was going to do. When I'm sitting down, I'm looking at my week, this is what matters to me, and I'm making a plan to do it. But then if your actions are, you're doing a whole bunch of things, but never actually doing these key things, then that's just information that you now get to decide. So now you get to stop blaming and saying, I need more time, I need more energy, I should push harder. Because it's like, it doesn't matter. If you keep on doing the wrong things, it doesn't matter how hard you push, and it doesn't matter how much time you have. You have to learn to do the right things, and you do not need more time for that, because learning to do the right things is a hard enough process that it's like, just do it and call it done. Say it's good enough, because it's hard to change that. It's a habit change that we're creating. And so when you are changing those habits, it takes time for it to feel comfortable. And so it's like, just get it done as fast as possible. But now you're looking at the data. So whatever comes up, whatever your data is, decide now, what do you want to do with it? How are you going to approach the next week differently? So instead of saying, well, I tried this plan and it didn't work, say, okay, I tried this, I made a plan. Did I stick to it? Did I, or whatever, like, just pay attention to your personal data and make a choice based on that. All right, that is all. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful for you. Did it click? And can you see it making a difference in your week? Not just your week though. This kind of system is what makes the difference in the long run. In when you plan out a month, when you plan out a year, when you plan out your life. And or if you plan out the next 12 weeks, which is what the On Purpose Planner does. So I hope you grab that in the description below so that I can help you to the best of my ability to do your God-given work to the best of your ability. And so to summarize, you're looking at, where do you want to be at the end of this week? What are the key things you need to do in order to get there? Plan them into your schedule. At the end of the week, look at the data. And then you pivot, you recalculate, and you do this again for the next week. And you are going to get good at it. You might botch the next 4 weeks and where you're trying to do this and it's just not coming naturally. But if you stick with it, it is going to make a difference in your life. And I really want you to enjoy that difference, because it's good. It can be very life-changing in so many ways. Okay. Lastly, remember to read your Bible, Get lost in the story of God and play your part. And I will talk to you soon.